Welcome to Learning in Bits. In this video, I'm going to give you a quick overview of Adobe After Effects. So the first thing you want to do anytime you start the software is to decide what the composition settings would be. And this is quite easy to do. So you want to click on New Composition and give it a name. For this, I'm going to call it Intro. And I will leave everything else the way it is, but it's important to note what these numbers are, especially in the duration area here. So these last two numbers highlighted represents frames. The next one represents seconds, and you can guess the next one represents minutes, and the last one represents hours. So right now I'm at 25 frames. I'm just going to leave it at 25 frames. And also the frame rate is listed here. You can decide what you want to work with. I'm going to choose 24 frames per second. All right. And I'll just say, okay. The first thing you want to do when you start the software is to understand the interface so that you know exactly where things are and where you can find your tools to create your new assets. Now the composition has been created. I want us to look at how we can begin to create assets in the software. Let's start with a basic background. So let's click here where you have the timeline. You can say new and let's choose solid. Alternatively, you can go to layer up here. I'll say new and we can create a solid. You will see the shortcut is Ctrl Y. Okay, so let's create a solid. So the software is asking us what kind of solid and what color do we want to create. I will say, let's choose any color of your choice. Decide on the color and just say, okay. Now we have a new background instead of the black. The next thing we are going to do is create some basic shapes for us to animate. So let's click on the ellipse tool. And if you hold down Shift, you're going to constrain the both axes and you're going to have a perfect circle. So what if we want to change the name of this ellipse tool? Right now is called Shape Layer 1. All you have to do is make sure the layer is selected, hit enter, and let's call this circle. The next thing we want to do is move the pivot point. You can see the pivot point is somewhere here in the center. It's not really in the center of the circle. So if you hit Y, you are able to move the pivot point and position it right in the center of the circle and hit V to accept it. So that's like the anchor point. All right. We also call it the pivot point. Now let's do a simple animation using position. So I'm going to take this circle out of view right here. Anything that is not in this region, this window region, work area, will not be visible to the audience. So right now the circle is out of view. I'm going to hit P for position. And to put a first keyframe, you have to click on this stopwatch here in front of the position. And you will notice there's a new keyframe in the timeline. So let's say at frame 1, the circle is off the screen, and let's go to frame 5. I'm just going to drag this circle to the other side of the screen. And already you can tell that we have an animation because we have one keyframe at frame 1 and the other keyframe at frame 5. So let's hit our spacebar and see what happens. We have the circle go across the screen. All right, fantastic. So that is for position. If we hit T, that's for opacity. All right, let's put a keyframe at frame 1 and go in time, and we want the opacity to go from 100 to 0, which means it's going to fade over time. So I'm going to click on the number there and hit 0. And if I play now, you notice that the square comes in and starts fading away and fades off to 0. So So that is opacity. Now we've played with opacity and position. All right. What if I want the shape to get larger over time? I have to play with the scale function. All right. So if I hit S for scale, I will have one keyframe first. I'll put a keyframe at the start. I will go in time and I'll try to scale this up by dialing these numbers up, make them bold like that. So let's see what we've got. We have the square come in and then fades out while scaling up. So those are basic tools you need to know in After Effects to get you started, which is positioning, transparency or opacity, as well as scaling. Now, there's also one more tool which I want to quickly talk about, which is rotation. So to get that, I'm going to create a star. Make sure no layer is selected and you can dial in a star like this. So I've created a star. So let's say in frame 1, I want the star to be off the screen. So I'm going to take it off the screen somewhere there. And once again, you will notice that the pivot point is off. So I'm going to hit Y to move that anchor point back to the center. All right, so that's fine. I will hit the V to accept it. That way, the anchor point will rotate along that axis. All right, I will hit P for position. So frame 1, the star is off the screen somewhere here. Then maybe at frame 5, I want the star to move downwards. So I'm going to click on that and move it this way. So if I play now, you see the animation we've got. The star is coming from right to left. Same process if I wanted the star to rotate, which is what I want us to do. So I'll hit on R for shortcuts for rotation, and I'll put a keyframe from the very start, and I will move in time, and I'll just dial up this number like so a couple of times, and then we're going to have an animation. So let's see what we've got. All right, so we have an animation already. So I'm going to stop this video here because I want it to be quite short and simple. But one thing I want to recap on is P stands for position, R for rotation, T stands for opacity, and S stands for scale. Now, if you have created an animation on a layer and you want to see what animation you have, you can just hit U on the layer. You will see that we already have two properties animated, which is position and rotation. Same process if I hit the circle and I hit U, you will see we have already animated the position, the scale, and the opacity. Okay? One last thing I want to talk about is once you have an animation on a layer, you don't have to hit on the stopwatch again to create a new keyframe. Otherwise, you're going to lose the initial keyframe that you created. So instead, there are these dots in the middle. If you look closely here to your left, you will notice there's an arrow that points to your left and one that points to your right. Now, those arrows take you to the next or the previous keyframes. But in between, here you can click in this circle in between those two arrows to create a new keyframe. All right. And let's say I want to create a new keyframe here. I can drag this down like so, and then I have a new animation. All right. So I hope you can begin to play around with these basic tools. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Bye for now and see you in the next video.